I've been observing Heller taking the measure of his strength. Now I know exactly how to put him down.
The long-awaited follow-up to Prototype has finally arrived, and this time it doesn't have the incredibly similar Infamous to compete with. Hopefully you weren't too attached to the game's original star, Alex Mercer, because in Radical Entertainment's Prototype 2, that's who you'll be hunting as you take the reins of Sergeant James Heller, who blames Mercer for the death of his family. Heller's been infected with the Mercer virus too, which enables him to unleash all those blood-soaked tendril attacks that are synonymous with Prototype's open-world gameplay. And as a result of this turn of events, the game gets off to a start with one of the lengthier tutorials in recent memory. Prototype 2 takes at least 20 minutes to really kick in, but when it does, you're as capable as Alex Mercer at his most powerful right off the bat. Like a T-1000 made of raw meat, Heller can transform his arms into an arsenal of weapons. Say hello to old friends like the Whip and Hammer Fist, plus you'll also have the ability to glide across the New York skyline, one of the best abilities gained late in the first Prototype, as well as a couple new attacks that'll have gorehounds standing in applause. This is not a game for the weak stomach, and when it comes to hosing the screen with blood, Prototype 2 pulls no punches. Even innocent bystanders can't escape Heller's wrath. You'll not only consume pedestrians for health and exploding flesh grenades, you'll also need to absorb them to assume their identities. There's a greater emphasis on stealth in this sequel, with numerous missions that can only be started if you're disguised as a soldier or someone equally unassuming. Once Heller infiltrates an area, he can trigger his new Radar Pulse ability to mark targets and consume them for nefarious means. And Heller isn't the only one who's succumbed to the Mercer virus, as you'll see from the giant red zone that used to be New York City. Getting to use the Big Apple as a violent playground just doesn't feel as fresh as it did in the first game, so Radical has spread the mayhem to surrounding areas that roughly correspond to New Jersey and Brooklyn. Unfortunately, these locations lack character compared to the dizzying skylines of New York City. After all, how can scaling the tallest building in a small borough compare to taking a swan dive off the Empire State Building? Many will find Prototype 2 fondly reminiscent to the original, in that it's enormously fun, but still a bit repetitive in its overall mission variety. It's unfortunate that despite the amount of destructibility in the environment, Prototype's chaotic New York isn't as visually dazzling as it once was. And speaking of lacking charm, Heller isn't a particularly interesting character or even all that likable. Compared to Alex Mercer and other video game anti-heroes, he's a crude, foul-mouthed cliché who makes it difficult to care about the story and situations. However, that won't matter to those of us who just want to giddily unleash horrific violence and creative over-the-top gore as a character who basically boils down to the Incredible Hulk with knives for arms. Prototype 2 starts out weak but ends strong. While there's not a whole lot of variety or innovation in Prototype 2 when compared to the first game, it's still pretty jam-packed with enjoyably horrific things to do in an open-world environment. But if you have a thirst for ridiculously over-the-top bloodlust and carnage, Prototype 2 should be right up your alley.